Good morning, good morning, good morning. We are back for another episode of the Buckeye Roast. It's your boy Ron James of Best Damn Media here with my guy QP Ski. Q, how you doing?
Tired, but we're here. We're back.
We are here. We are back. Missed a couple of episodes, but we are here. We've been sick. We've been busy. Had a lot of stuff going on, but we are here. Plenty to talk about around the nation. The Buckeyes not the toughest matchup, but an interesting location for this week's game. We're going to talk all about it. But Q, you already pissed me off this morning with your notes, so I'll let you just start the show. No, don't give me that look, because it's been a couple days. Your boy's recovering. You know how I feel. It's college basketball season. It's college football season. It's the best time of the year. Everybody's playing. And I wake up. We haven't done the show in a while. We've been using the same document, putting our notes about the team in there as we prepare for today's show. We have a special guest today, but the first thing I see when I open the notes is Duke loses to Kentucky. What kind of shit is that? It's an Ohio State program. It's a national college football segment early in the show, and the first thing I see in the fucking notes is we're talking about Duke basketball? Really? Why today? Why today, Q?
We're just branding out. We did college football. Then we started talking Ohio State. We started talking college football. I'm like, hell, why stop there when you have such great news out in the atmosphere? But before we get to that, Wiley just let me in. We got a special guest waiting for us.
What's up, guys?
We have our guy, Pat Cahill, Menace to Sports. Pat, appreciate you joining us.
Oh, man. Glad to be here. I can't wait to talk about college basketball with you guys today.
You're in the middle of an old rivalry. It feels like the old days of Duke, Maryland.
Who's the Duke? Ron, are you a Duke fan?
I am a Duke basketball fan. Duke basketball was my second team of Steelers, Duke basketball. Ohio State came along later in my life. Q is a Maryland basketball fan, so this rivalry goes way back. Q and I are ops when it comes to basketball and NFL football. His team's about to get their ass beat by my Steelers this week, but that's a topic for another day.
I don't even know who I want to win that game. I hate both y'all teams.
Don't worry. In all fairness, I'll put that score up. I'll put that score up next time. But everybody, make sure you like that video. It's good to see everybody back. Charles Green in there. Who had the first chat? Let's see.
I believe it was Emily Gates.
But Emily was second. First chat in there. So
shout out to Emily.
The first chat, but I see a guy, Mike Green, in there. I see Johnny O. I see some names in there. So make sure you like that video. If you're on Twitter, go ahead and like and retweet that, all that good stuff, and let's hop into it. Ryan, you got anything for hopping to our first note?
Well, you did mention Twitter. A real quick note, if you're also on Blue Sky, make sure you follow your boy Ron James. Me and Chris Drew are over there as well. We're trying to branch out on all social media platforms. Of course, we are on X, but we're also over there too. So if you're looking for new Buckeye fans, we created an Ohio State starter pack to find all of the Buckeye fans that are over there already. We created a custom Ohio State feed. So if you're looking for all the Buckeye news that's over there, check them out. So if you do pop up over on Blue Sky, make sure you add your boy Ron James.
There you go. All right. So, Pat, first news for you. Duke goes down to Kentucky. 72. Obviously, this Duke team was well overhyped before going into this game, and there's no chance for any success this season at all if this game tells us anything. Pat, did you win money on this? Did you lose money on this? Give me some feedback for Duke losing to Kentucky so badly.
So honestly, I'm pissed because I would have probably taken Cooper Flag points, but you can't bet college props in Ohio, so I didn't have any money on this game.
So Ohio saved you by not allowing you to lose money on Cooper Flag and the gang.
I just like to make the point. Make the point. If you're taking betting advice from Q when it comes to betting against Duke, don't listen to him. That team has so many open shots. It's early in the season. These shots will fall. They were missing great shots. Watch out. The Duke Blue Devils championship contender this season.
Dang, losing to the Coach Calipari-less Kentucky. All right. Moving on. That's enough college basketball for the other side. Maryland's undefeated.
Crazy.
Maryland's undefeated. But besides that, let's move on to some college football as we have news. So everybody is aware this week, and I would love Johnny O in the chat to weigh in on this. Bryce Underwood was supposedly offered $10.5 million to attend the University of Michigan, Big Ten stronghold, the team up north. So apparently the news is via IG, via On3, that Bryce Underwood will reportedly decline Michigan's $10.5 million offer and stay committed to LSU. Pat, how crazy is this?
I love it. It's just such an easy dunk on Michigan, so I'll take it. I mean, they're trying so hard to get any sort of momentum going, pulling out all the stops, offering a recruit $10.5 million when he hasn't even played a single snap of college football is outrageous. I mean, it's probably a blessing in disguise for Michigan that he's saying no, because you don't want to have all that money tied in to one player who hasn't played, again, a single snap of college football. I mean, how many times do we see these top prospects, come out of high school and are complete busts in college? So it's like, I don't understand that. I think it's sad that you have to offer an in-state quarterback $10.5 million coming off a national championship, but that's just the state of their program right now.
So, Pat, quick follow-up. If you were Bryce Underwood, $10.5 million on the table, you see the train wreck Michigan is this season. You see LSU, they develop quarterbacks. What are you doing?
Dude, I'm 100% going to LSU. You kidding me? Just look at the track record. I mean, you got Jaden Daniels is balling out. I know he didn't ball out last night, but he's been balling out. You got Joe Burrow. It's like those two alone. You're like, all right, yeah, why would I choose Michigan over LSU? Michigan has one quarterback who just got injured and isn't even playing in the NFL right now. So I don't know. The choice is pretty clear to me.
Yeah, I mean, you left out Zach Mettenberger, too. I mean, Zach Mettenberger probably the best Michigan quarterback since Tom Brady, if you put him on Michigan. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think Pat hit the nail on the head, and it has to be embarrassing as hell for Michigan, $10.5 million, and she still won't even go out on a date with you. Like, bro didn't even, pretend until, bro came out and said, no, I don't want that deal. Public statement, keep your money. So it's funny, too, because just a few weeks ago, they were talking about, Dave Portnoy got $3 million, and we're going to get another $3 million, and we're going to offer him $6 million. Now it's 10.5. All this talk about Ohio State's $20 million roster, and they're ready to put 10.5 into a single player. I guess if Michigan fans want to look for the silver lining, they have to take the Miami approach when they miss a recruit and say, well, more cap space, I guess. So $10.5 million for the rest of the roster. So they should at least be happy about that. Know that they have the NFL funds for at least half an Ohio State team. Big shout out to our guy Mike Grain for the super chat. Thanks for the $5. How the bums up north offering 10.5 on half of our roster for one player. Not one man is more important than the team looking ass. I mean, I don't know if I agree there, because I think a lot of the reason why this team looks ass is because they're putting Davis Warren and Alex Orji out there. Maybe Bryce Underwood could make it look a little better, but who knows? If they take another step back next year and they ask a true freshman quarterback to start, could be the beginning and the end of his career if they try to ruin him that fast at Michigan. So always love to see Michigan give you an easy opportunity to dunk on them and see them miss on a huge recruit. I'd hate to see them get Bryce Underwood. So glad to see that he's still at LSU.
I mean, didn't they just sign a 5-star quarterback one year ago?
Who?
Jaden, what's his name?
Jaden Davis?
Yeah, Davis, yeah.
Was he a 5-star?
Alleged 5-star. I mean, he was a 5-star as a junior, and then he played his senior year and was no longer a 5-star. And this is the same kid that they said his parents don't want him to play football. They're like, oh, yeah, he's sitting out a year. I'm like, okay, I didn't know he was doing a self-study while he was at Michigan. I don't know what he's got. He got an internship that he's focusing on. I don't know what he's worried about, but it's clearly
a lot of group projects going on.
Yeah, exactly, bro. I mean, he's getting the F that everyone else got on this group project for this season from Michigan. Last year, I guess, would have been the year to sit around and do nothing if you wanted to just collect a ring. But it seems like things are back to normal now that Connor Stallions is onto his second high school team now that he coaches. Bryce West, I would be mad looking around my program like, why did you bring this fucking weirdo to be a part of the staff when I'm not even going there. Get bro away from me. Phil Stalkerish at this point. He's gonna have to get a PFA on Connor Stallions.
He's just that great of a defensive mind. They'll win states when
he's a fucking quarterback.
I'm talking about Connor Stallions. That great. He's like, yeah, that's the missing piece to the state championship. I don't know if I can turn down 10.5. I gotta see what LSU was offering, but 10.5 million. You're gonna see me in class on Monday with 3 chains on. I'll be out there like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? We about to pull up AR with the season, but that may just be me. But yeah, he turns it down. So we will see what Michigan does. Hopefully they're not smart and be like, forget all this. Let's throw 1.5 million on a transfer quarterback and beef up the roster with a clear 10 million. I mean, you got more than one hole.
Going to class?
You said what?
I said 10.5. You're going to class. I'm sending my note taker. I'm sending my note taker to class with a chain on, like so people know that he's there for me.
With the name tag on.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I'm pulling up in that new Tesla shuttle. just drop me off right in front of the door.
What y'all know about money? Everybody could buy a Model X. I went and got the Tesla tractor trailer to really flex on y'all.
I'm pulling up with the shuttle, driving me off, and having a robot take my notes. That's what I'm doing.
I'm pulling up with the new Batmobile that they put out. 40 of them release. That's what I'm pulling up in.
And I got one at home. All right. Moving on. So, a bit of a high school football question. So, On3 has now introduced composite rankings for their high school rankings. This is the first proprietary algorithm that compiles rankings listed of public domain by respected high school media and data companies. Pat,
how dare you? I'm stopping you right there, and that's grounds for being dropped from the show. The first. Have you ever heard of the RON3 rankings? Okay, I may have not gotten a patent or a trademark on it, but RON3 is the first industry compiler of rankings that uses their own analysis to really come up with the best rankings. So On3, they may be lying and say that they have the best ranking, but RON3 was first. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. I just can't let you disrespect the platform like that.
You did hear the word proprietary, right?
Yeah, proprietary to me. And the entire industry. I came up with this shit first.
I think On3 used Connor Stallions or someone to hack into the RON3 analytics, and that's
what I'm saying, bro. Like, I was the first to do this, bro. They took my methodology of compiling these and then using my great analysis to figure it out.
All right. I would love to see your source data. You pull that up after the show.
Right here, bro. I give away this source data every day.
Anywho, Pat, this is good news, bad news. Are we doing too much with high school rankings? Now we got a composite. We taking the local Buford News, reporting on their high school along with 247 and combining them to get a high school ranking. Is this a little too much for high school, or you'd like it?
Personally, I think it is, but I don't know. I just think we're going a little too far with this. Let the high school kids be high school kids. Let the game play out the way it's supposed to be played out, with the hometown fans in attendance, the rival schools chanting, shit to other players. Let's keep it at that. I think we're going a little too far here, but maybe that's just me.
I can't ask Ron because he's got his own ranking. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Leave it to the experts. I don't need some guy from the Buford Star telling me that KJ Bolden's a 5-star. I promise you, I know he's a 5-star. Okay, we don't need a lot of The water's already muddied enough. We have On3. We have 247. Rivals allegedly still exist. ESPN still puts out rankings for some reason. I have no idea why, but the waters are too muddied. I don't think we need more voices in these rankings. Stick to RON3 and you should probably be good.
Yeah, there you go. On 3 rankings. Okay, Paul Feinbaum, our guy, and let's talk about this the other day. He ripped the college football playoff committee for Georgia's ranking. He said it's a complete travesty. I quote, how the committee can disrespect them and put schools like Penn State, ? Are you serious? ? What has Penn State done this year? ? End quote. So, Pat, we'll start with you. Is this a travesty that not only Penn State, but Big Ten schools that would have lost a rank in front of Georgia? Is that a true travesty?
I don't know. Let me see. Does Penn State score? Does Drew Aller lead the Power 5 in interceptions thrown?
I'm going to say no.
I don't think so. Does Penn State have more than one loss? Or sorry, does Penn State have 2 losses or more?
We'll say no to that one as well.
I don't think so. My thing is, if you win your games, you should be rewarded with a higher ranking than teams that haven't won their games. I'm sorry that you lost 2 games, Georgia. I'm sorry that your quarterback leads Power 5 in interceptions thrown. He's taken a step back. Georgia's taken a step back in almost every analytic compared to what we've seen in the last 3 years on both sides of the ball. They struggled to beat Kentucky. What do you mean? Like, I don't get it. I hate the SEC bias that ESPN continuously, shoves down our throats, but I don't know. We'll see it. We'll see it this weekend. I mean, Georgia's in a win or go home type of game against Tennessee. Like, there's no way a 3-loss Georgia team's making the playoffs. So, go take care of business against Tennessee, and then you'll be right back in conversation.
Well, see, Pat, some would argue that Georgia's just playing the Seahawks covered in Old Miss jerseys. It's the NFL teams down there. They got to play every week. One week, it's Old Miss. The next week is the Bears. Like, it's just a tougher conference. Why is Paul Feinbaum not right about this?
I mean, first of all, Penn State is taking care of business against every opponent they've played on their schedule, minus Ohio State. It was their toughest matchup. Now, yeah, Penn State doesn't have a quality win, but does Georgia have a quality win? Sure, they beat Texas, but it's just like every other opportunity they've had, they got blown out by Ole Miss. They barely beat Kentucky. They should have gotten blown out by Bama if not for a crazy second half comeback. I don't know. I think Georgia's hella overrated, and I think Tennessee is the pick this weekend against them.
Yeah, Ron, I will ask you. I know you have your own rankings, but it's college football rankings. I don't know if you're expert of that too. Probably is
expert of all things.
So, do you agree? Is Penn State being above Georgia disrespecting the SEC?
No, I mean, it's just Paul propaganda out here, just pushing SEC narratives for ESPN, and it's so blatant at this point anymore. Like, their agenda as far as to push this SEC narrative as, oh my God, this conference is so tough. This is the same conference that was just telling you that LSU Alabama was a huge matchup. When if you ask them, does USC stink? They would go on and on for hours and tell you how bad USC is. We beat LSU to start the season. Oh, well, that's the beginning of the year. It's just crazy that there's always a justification for why the SEC is so tough, why you can never write these teams off. And I just feel like it's bullshit at this point. And it's just more of them trying to prop up their TV product. They do not want to see a scenario where Alabama and Georgia are not in a 12-team playoff after saying for years, we have to do this to make sure the big powers never miss out, and they'll always get in. So we need 12 teams to make sure the rest of these guys get in. I mean, do you think you need a 12-team playoff to tell you that Georgia's not a national championship contender with the current quality of their team right now? I think a 4-team playoff would have settled that, and I don't think anyone would be crying that a 3-loss Georgia team didn't make it to a 4-team playoff.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if there's a 3-loss team in college football that's ever has the ability to win the Natty. I mean, I'll gladly eat crow if I'm wrong, but yeah, I'd say you lost 3 times. Hell,
yeah, it's like, well, then what's the point of playing the regular season? If that's the case, we all decide that, all right, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson are going to play for the championship every year and forget the rest.
Championship classic.
Yeah, exactly. Literally, that's what it's going to be. It's like, at some point, winning your games in the regular season has to mean something. If you lose 2, God forbid, 3 games in a regular season, yeah, I get that with larger conferences, the schedules are going to be a little tougher, but no, you don't. If there are other teams with better records than you, that should mean something.
Yeah, especially too when you always have a non-conference game at the end of the year against, I don't know, Cal Southern. Like, hell, find a way to
Georgia
win
plays
games.
UMass next week. That's great.
UMass coming up, Reagan. So find a way to win your games. I agree with that. All right, moving on to the main topic of the day. Before I do that, make sure everybody like that video. We got 100 people in here.
Yeah, smash that like button, man.
Yeah. There you go. Like that video if you are on Twitter. Like and retweet. If you're in the community, do the same thing. And if you're not, let us know. We'll get you in there. Ron, you have the topic of the day talking about Ohio State and the media. So I will let you take it from here.
Yeah. Are the Buckeyes getting shortchanged, man? We've been talking about these big noon kickoffs, this new media deal. We were celebrating the deal. Oh, man, the Buckeyes, we're about to have the most money when it comes to these conferences. Look what the Big Ten did. They did such a great job. I got bamboozled. I didn't read the fine print. And apparently neither did Gene
Like that
Smith
meme,
and
it's like,
Kevin
I've
Ward.
won, but at what cost?
It's like when you're watching a podcast and they let you know, here comes the fine print, and you smash the 30-second skip button. It's like, no, I'm not listening to the fine print. Get me back to the show. And I feel like that's what the Buckeyes did. Like, I don't care what it says. Where's the pen? Let me sign. It feels like the Buckeyes didn't take into consideration how much they are going to be dependent on to carry this media rights deal for the Big Ten. When you look at the idea that all of these new Pac-12 teams have no opportunity to represent the Big Ten for a home game in the big noon kickoff slot because it's not the big 9 a.m. kickoff on the West Coast. There's no way that they're going to do the big noon kickoff for 9 a.m. West Coast game. So that puts the onus on East Coast teams that can carry this platform for Fox. And that really puts it on Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State to carry the brunt of big noon kickoff. I just wanted to get your thoughts of how bad did the Buckeyes bungle this? And do you think that this is hurting the Ohio State and Big Ten product?
Pat, you can take first crack at it.
I mean, it's so we've broken down a couple times on the show today with Zach and Chris, or this week rather. It's what's something that's not really talked about is that it's a big loss in recruiting because you've got guys from all over the country that are trying to come out to Ohio State for a game weekend, and you've got a noon kickoff after they're playing football on a Friday night. Some of them live across the country. It's a big hassle for them to fly in and get to a game day for a noon kickoff. And for this to happen 6 times in a row to end the season is outrageous. And honestly, there's a part of me that I like a noon kickoff. There's nothing wrong with a noon kickoff every once in a while. Personally, I think what they've done now is honestly taking away from kind of the royalty of the game being a noon kickoff every year. It's something you can look forward to as a Buckeye fan with like, all right, all of our big games are primarily 3:30 or 7:30 games. And now at the end of the year, we always have that noon kickoff, get the game out of the way early and enjoy the rest of the day. And it's like, at some point now that's getting watered down and it's not as fun to every morning, every Saturday morning, wake up and be like, all right, well, Buckeyes are on at noon and then carry on the rest of the day. Like, no, I kind of wanted that anticipation of a 3:30 or 7:30 game and have it build up throughout the day.
Yeah, I agree with that like 200%. And I think not only just with recruiting in Ohio State, but I think you're killing the brand of the Big Ten by just featuring one team at noon every week. I mean, we look around the conference, Penn State is having a good year. Indiana is having a really good year. You have brands out there that could use that spotlight. Maybe a Rutgers, they're chasing recruits. They're doing stuff. They should be on TV. Maryland. You don't really get to see them a lot. I mean, obviously they get blasted half the time they're on TV, but it is a chance early in the year or mid-time of the year to say, hey, Maryland's, the 3-2 with USC coming in there. Why can't we feature that game in noon? It's just like branding in the conference and spreading around the wealth. I get it. Ohio State and Penn State, of course, you're going to have a big noon kickoff for that. If you want that game at noon, even though it would be nice maybe to have it a little later. Yeah, I get that. You'll have your prop-up games, but as far as marketing and showing off a conference, I think it's just what people think, oh, the Big Ten, that's just Ohio State. Well, of course they do. They're going to see that 6 weeks in a row. And by 3:30, you got, Old Miss in Georgia. And who cares anymore what the Big Ten is doing? So somehow you have to put those games later because we just don't have enough night games to feature Big Ten opponents. I mean, if you're not thinking about the Big Ten past, after Oregon, Ohio State, you haven't thought of the Big Ten past 3:30 all year long, then of course the brand is not getting any stronger. You're getting less recognition. You have Paul Fibe out like, what has Penn State done? Because he hasn't seen Penn State because they haven't played past 3:30. He's just getting up out of bed, getting his coffee at like 1. Of course he hasn't seen Penn State play. So in some way, I agree with that. I think it hurts the Big Ten. I think it hurts the product. You talked about it, recruiting most definitely. I think you got to spread the wealth around. Yeah, maybe West Coast teams can't play at 9 a.m., but they travel. You have Oregon going to, I don't know, Illinois. Put that at 9 a.m. Like, dude, do something else, but you're hurting your own brand here.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it also comes down to, the part that pissed me off this week was Joel Klatt going on and defending Fox Sports and being like, well, the numbers at the noon slate are the highest it's ever been. And we're primarily pushing, 7 million average viewers. We took advantage of a time slot that wasn't available, prior to the big noon kickoff. And it's like, yeah, no shit. And that's all on the backs of Ohio State. You could put Ohio State on at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday and you would still get 7 million people to watch.
We look at all the numbers we added to the Monday morning football time slot. Revolutionary. Of course you're adding new numbers in that time slot. No one was watching football then. But I would be disingenuous if I riled everyone up. I mean, honestly, I don't hate noon kickoffs.
Either, but I hate it when it's every week. It's the same thing.
Exactly. I agree with what Pat said. I hate it being every week, and the fact that, Penn State doesn't get to have an opportunity to have the best whiteout possible. The Buckeyes don't get to play their marquee matchups as night games. I want to see those, but me personally, as a fan, I'm not going to lie, and as a content creator, I love me a noon game. I'm done with my post game by 3:30. I get to watch the 4 o'clock block. I get to jump in around the second quarter and know which games are the good games and enjoy the rest of my night. And even if I'm going to a game, if I'm going to a Pitt game locally, or even if I travel to a Buckeye game, I love a noon game. I wake up, have a couple drinks, go to the game, go grab dinner or lunch after the game, and then I'm out for the night. I don't got nothing else to do. The game is out of the way. We're here. And I like having an early game. I'm personally never had any issues drinking in the morning for an event. So that, and I when people talk about, Penn State, it's Pennsylvania. The 12 a.m. is plenty enough time to get drunk. Okay. This idea that fans don't have enough time to get tuned up before the game, I think that's a little bit overstated, but I do agree that it doesn't give an opportunity to showcase the entire Big Ten. It doesn't give the Buckeyes, Penn State, Michigan the opportunity to play the best games in prime time. So while Fox will let you know that it's the best numbers we've ever seen at noon, we'll give the Buckeyes a try any other time slot for a big game. I'm sure you're going to see the best numbers that you've ever seen there as well. The brand will go wherever the Buckeyes actually are at. So while I do think it's unfair, the burden that's being put on these East Coast teams, you got to read the fine print.
Yeah, that is true. It's just every week. If Ohio State is truly your money maker and your brand, to see them at 12 every week where the atmosphere is not that great and no recruiting, it's going to hurt your deal in the long run, because for Fox, it would definitely pay off for Ohio State to win a natty every now and then. So
maybe that's why we haven't invested in the light show at Ohio State, because it's we only play at noon.
You can't see the lights at noon.
Lights. We have daylight. It's like Wrigley Field back in the day when they never played night games, so they refused to put in lights at the.
We don't need lights.
Well, you brought up. We might as well go right there. Pat mentioned Wrigley Field. The Buckeyes take on Northwestern at Wrigley Field this weekend. Your guys' thoughts on these types of games? Do you like to see these games in different stadiums? I saw the renderings. Well, not renderings. They're the actual pictures now of what the field looks like. I was listening to the history of football games played in Wrigley Field. The one time they had the field set up so oddly that they had to go in the same direction every time back in 2010 during one of the games. So it looks like they have things a little bit figured out a little bit better for this game. Your guys' thoughts on the Wrigley Field experience, and is this a type of game that you would travel to see your team play in?
Absolutely not. I leave baseball fields for baseball games. So I want to go to Wrigley Fields because I want to watch a baseball game. I don't want to watch Jeremiah Smith go for a corner fade in the end zone and have to hold my breath if he's going to fucking go 20 miles an hour straight into the brick wall that is that's the left field bleachers. No, I'm good with that.
Q?
I don't need spin moves at third base. I'm pretty good off that. I've never got this in, even in basketball when they play in those giant football stadiums. I know the national championship was just out here at Cardinal Stadium, but hell, if you're sitting with binoculars on top of another pair of binoculars. What's the point? You want an actual game atmosphere. I don't think you get that. There's too many basketball and football stadiums across the country to where you cannot have these games in a football or basketball stadium. So yeah, Chicago needs to get that new dome built and get that up so we can actually see Ohio State play in a football stadium in Chicago and not fall in the river or trip on third base.
Hey, I just gave the argument for noon games, and I don't think I could think of a more perfect noon football game location than the fact that I'm going to step out of Wrigley Field and be in Wrigleyville after a game, after my Buckeyes won. We talk about getting a drink after the game. I mean, that's a pretty easy walking distance to a good time straight out of the stadium.
That's fine, but you could also just Uber from, say, if the game was at Soldier Field to Wrigleyville after
the game. A very solid point. Pat's not going on the experience of Wrigleyville. He wants to see the Cubs lose there if he goes to a game.
Absolutely. It's always fuck the Cubs.
Well, that's enough baseball talk, I guess, because it feels like a baseball topic. We got some big games going on this weekend, Pat, and you are our numbers guy and our betting guy. How are we going to make some money this weekend, man?
What game do you guys want to start with?
Yeah, let's go ahead and roll right into Ohio State Northwestern since we brought it up. So Ohio State on the road at Wrigley Field. They're minus 28 versus Northwestern. Obviously a big time spread. Do the Buckeyes get it done? Pat, what are you taking?
So I'm taking Ohio State minus 28.5 here. I think they've showed us exactly what we needed to see last week, taking care of business against a pretty weak Purdue team. And I don't think Northwestern is much better at all. I mean, they went to overtime against Purdue, so I think that tells you enough about where their program's at this year. My one concern is maybe this could be a look-ahead week for Ohio State with Indiana coming up next week and how big of a matchup that is going to be for the season. But I just think this Buckeye team is too good. The defense is peaking at the right time. I think they're gaining some solid momentum. Jordan Hancock said, they expected a shutout last week and they're expecting another one this week. So if they're going to post another shutout, I would hope the offense can score 30 points against Northwestern. So I'm taking the Buckeyes minus 28.5.
All right, Ron, where's your money at?
I'm with that. I'm right there with Pat, but can we depend on Northwestern's kicker to be as bad as Purdue's kicker? They say that I feel like we took a moral shutout last week because if they had any semblance of a kicker, they might have made a field goal last week. So I don't know.
Also, they should have went for it. I'm sorry. You're playing Ohio State on the road and you got the ball on the 3-yard line. It's 4th and goal. Buddy, go for it. You're not going to get many other chances. So that's like almost instant karma.
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head with instant karma. It's such a loser mentality, and I feel like they were punished for it. Like, bro, you tried to ruin the shutout just to say you did get shut out, and it's like, no, get in the fucking end zone, loser. You're going to take this L. Put that goose egg back up on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I love that. Those shutouts here. Go down 40. Oh, man. All right, I'll also ride with the Ohio State train. I think, they probably get damn close to a shutout at Northwestern. Should let them out take care of business and set up that undefeated matchup we talked about earlier in the week against Indiana on Saturday. Staying in the Big Ten, Pat, we have Oregon versus Wisconsin. Oregon is favored by 13.5 points. Oregon has rolled the season, no losses yet. Wisconsin has been up and down, I guess we can say. Oregon minus 13.5 spread. What are you doing?
I'm going to keep riding with Oregon and Dan Lanning. I mean, they've been covering these massive spreads all season long. Dan Lanning is 16-7 against the spread when it's 13.5 or more in his career at Oregon. So I'm going to keep riding that train until we're proven otherwise. So give me Oregon minus 13.5.
Yeah. Ron.
I completely missed that. I was talking to the chat. I threw a note in there. If anyone's attending the game at Wrigley, tag us some pictures on the timeline, and we'll get those on the show on Monday.
Okay, you have Oregon minus 13.5 against Wisconsin this week. Oregon has been undefeated. Where are you putting your money?
Oregon. I have not been overly impressed with Wisconsin this year, so I am going to roll with the Ducks as much as it pains me. They are a much better team than I thought they were, especially with their early struggles in the state of Idaho. Maybe it's a potato allergy. I don't know what it is, but they seem to be doing much better this season, so I'm going to go with the Ducks and say they keep it rolling.
Wisconsin did give me hope when they were in the game for 3 minutes against Alabama, but I think I'm going to roll with Oregon this week and take it at -13.5. Staying somewhat in the Midwest, I guess you could say, we got Kansas versus the favored BYU. BYU is -2.5. They are undefeated, some say, with a loss that doesn't count, others say. Does Kansas get it done this week, or are you rolling with BYU -2.5, Pat?
I'm rolling with Kansas. This is a fishy spread by Vegas. You're telling me that an undefeated BYU team at home is only a 2.5? Yes, undefeated, but only a 2.5 point favorite against what? Kansas has 3 wins on the season, I believe.
I could double check that for you.
Yeah, Kansas is 3-6 on the year, and BYU 9-0 at home, only a 2.5 point favorite. Give me Kansas money line.
I'm telling Pat here on this one. I was like, I don't like to go against the betting expert. I thought Pat was going to tell me to go with BYU. I've been rooting against BYU every week since the beginning of the year because I need prime in the Big 12 championship game. And this will set the stage. And I need BYU to get a loss to really start the chaos scenario in the Big 12. And I'd love to see them go down. I know they're undefeated and they'll still be at the top with 1 loss, but I feel like it puts things in motion. And it, like you said, it feels like Vegas knows something about this BYU team. Q clearly knows something that the rest of the world doesn't, that they actually are a 1-loss team. So I'm following Pat, and this is probably going to be one of my favorite watches this weekend.
Oh, same. I love that it's the 10-15 little Pac-12 after dark action, but now it's Big 12, and neither of these teams are Pac-12 teams, so it doesn't matter.
Oh man, yeah, Kansas. I know they have that 3-6 record. They have been in every game this season. No blowouts there. So I'm gonna follow the crowd. Maybe that'll make me lose my money, but I'm gonna roll with Kansas at the +2.5 mark. So let's do that. Put that down on your parlay. I know Cam was looking for a Cam. Put down that on your parlay. Okay, moving on. Let's do some ACC, and then we'll wrap up with the SEC. So we got Clemson. The vaunted Clemson minus Ron's hometown team, the Pittsburgh Panthers. Clemson at -11.5. They have been up and down. They do find a way to win at Virginia Tech last week. Still trying to get to that ACC championship. Pat, Clemson -11.5 versus Pitt. What you thinking?
So I found a fun little nugget here. Under Dabo, Clemson is 6-0 straight up and against the spread when listed as a double-digit favorite on a road trip. However, he's just 10-2-5 against the spread when it's -10 or under. So this spread is 11.5 right now. I'm going to lean Clemson on this one. Follow the trend. He's going to go to 7-0 against the spread.
All right, Ron. I know pick your hometown team, but don't be biased.
I know I have tickets to this game. I'm not going. I'm going to stay home and watch the Buckeyes beat on Northwestern. I have a saying that I tell Pitt fans all the time. Pat Narduzzi's a bozo. I think that he is way more successful than he deserves to be at Pitt. I think they're having a solid season, but I feel like this is the time in the year where they tend to come back to earth. You saw them struggle against SMU. I feel like Clemson is one of the better teams in the ACC. I feel like Pitt was the beneficiary of an easy schedule early in the season. A lot of teams are down that were on their schedule early on, and they were able to get some wins that felt bigger. I mean, even the committees weren't really buying the Pitt hype, even when they were undefeated 7-0, 8-0. They were still 18, 19 in the country, while Miami in the same conference is in the top 5. I feel like they go in there and handle business, and Pitt takes this L. I think Clemson's going to get this dub.
There you go. I will roll with Clemson as well. I don't have faith of any rankings or anything that comes from Pittsburgh.
Well, you bring up faith, you should already know what team you're picking then.
So
we know who God's picking. Clemson.
I tried to convince Clemson out of high school. I didn't have enough faith to get in. But moving on here. So we have LSU in Florida moving to the SEC. LSU minus only 4 versus Florida, who showed some promise against Georgia, even though every quarterback they had, went out with crutches. Pat, LSU, Lagway supposed to be back at Florida. What are you thinking? LSU minus 4, or are we going Florida?
All the signs from me are pointing to LSU and a bounce back. In Brian Kelly's tenure, he's had 19 career games after getting blown out, like a 20 or more point loss. In those 19 games, he's 13-6 against the spread, and he's 3-0 against the spread in his tenure at LSU after a 20-plus point loss. Only one Florida quarterback has beaten LSU since 2017, and that was Felipe Franks. So LSU's kind of had Florida's number. This is the largest. This is also the largest spread for LSU as a road on the road in the Swamp since 1978 when they were a 6-point favorite. So they're 4.5 or 4-point favorites this week. I like LSU. I think they're gonna put a beating on Florida.
There you go, Ron. LSU travels to Florida minus 4. Where are you picking?
See, I mean, we just talked about LSU losing to USC earlier in the year, and I'm just having trouble believing this LSU team is as legit as the media wants you to believe. And while I think this Florida team is terrible, I think Lagway is one of the most talented freshmen in the country, and I feel like this is an opportunity for him to put on a show for Florida fans and hopefully reassure Florida fans that they made the right decision in keeping Billy Napier, because I would imagine Billy Napier owes at least half of his salary next year to DJ Lagway, because it's the only reason why he's still the coach at Florida. I think if Florida's able to get a win here, it'll be an opportunity to springboard their off season and get people hype about the potential of DJ Lagway and what this team could be if they're able to have success in the transfer portal this off season. While the numbers and the experts and Pat tell me that this is an LSU win here, I'm hoping, just for the betterment of the sport and this program at Florida, I hope DJ Lagway is able to go off there and springboard this team into a solid offseason to have some hope for.
There you go. So I think it's an LSU lock going on the road. I think Florida used up all their magic last week. So I think they're just running a little empty. So I will rock with LSU. My second to last one, because I got another one for you after this, but the marquee of the weekend, Tennessee going to Georgia. Georgia is minus 9.5, but some birds out there tell me to roll with Tennessee money line. Pat might know a few of those guys, but Pat, you are the expert. You are the guy people come to. Georgia minus 9.5 at home. Tennessee rolling into town. Nico's availability is up in the air. Some say he won't play. Some say he might. Where are you rolling?
Give me the Vols, baby, on the road.
Ooh.
I'm all out on the Georgia experience this year. I think Carson Beck has been trash. He leads Power 5 in interceptions thrown. Their defense is mid. They don't have the guys on offense anymore. I saw a stat that actually Georgia wide receivers are 4th in Big 5 in drops this year. I think that losing Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey is partially to blame as to why Carson Beck's having the year he's having. But I think 9.5 points is way too much for Tennessee. I'm sprinkling them on the money line as well, but I think the safe bet is plus 9.5 for sure.
There you go. Ron, Tennessee plus 9.5, Georgia minus 9.5. Where are you putting your money?
Oh, Georgia. I know that Georgia's really struggling, and Carson Beck has been having a terrible season. It seems like he's going to be playing college football next year and not living an NFL dream with his new girlfriend. So I think he's going to be scheduling classes here in the offseason if he keeps playing like this. But I haven't watched a ton of Tennessee, but I constantly see the narrative on the timeline. If you think Nico's good, you don't watch Tennessee. So I'm interested to see what Nico looks like against this Georgia defense. And if he's able to perform, I know it's not the Georgia defenses of past, but if he's able to go out and put out a big performance in a game that they need like this, I feel like it will solidify his legitimacy as one of the better quarterbacks in the future of this sport. So I'm going to have my eye on Nico in this performance, but I do think Georgia and Kirby, we talk about a bounce back for LSU. I think this is a bounce back for Georgia.
Okay. And Tennessee plus 9.5. Give me Tennessee with the points. I feel like Georgia is not going to come out and perform great. I feel like they will get the dub and somehow survive in this college football playoff. But I feel like it won't be pretty as they do it. So I'm rolling with Georgia. I'm rolling with Tennessee plus 9.5. So let me recap for you. We took Ohio State minus the 28.5. If you were Kansas versus BYU, you were taking Kansas probably money line, but if you're a little scared, you could give me the Duke plus 2.5. Like, I guess if you're that type of guy, I wouldn't trust you. Rolling with LSU minus 4, but Ron is rolling with Florida plus 4. So he's going there. Clemson, we're all rolling with Clemson minus 11.5 going to Pitt. Everybody's rolling with Oregon minus 13.5, and everybody's rolling with, well, me and Pat are rolling with Tennessee plus 9.5 or money line if you're that bold, and Ron is rolling with UGA minus 9.5. But this is not the most important bet of the weekend. Some say the most important bet of the weekend is tonight. Jake Fury Hands, Golden Hands Paul versus Iron Mike Tyson. All eyes will be on that on Netflix tonight. Jake Paul is the favorite. Iron Mike at 50 or 60 years old, 250, still all muscle, the underdog. Pat, where are you putting your money tonight? Because that's the most important sports betting question of the weekend.
I woke up feeling dangerous, and I already placed my bet. I got Mike Tyson via knockout.
Ooh.
Let him land one. Let him land one. That's all he needs.
That's all he needs. Ron, where are you putting your money tonight?
Not on this WWE match. I'm putting it in DoorDash because I'm going to order some food and watch this fight because I'm not losing money on a scripted fight. I'm old enough that I've seen Mike Tyson lose to fucking Kevin McBride, okay? I've been watching Mike Tyson pay-per-views since I was 6 years old, okay? I've been watching Mike my entire life. Even when I was in middle school, fight parties with my friends to watch an old washed up Mike Tyson in the early 2000s lose fights to people that he is not supposed to lose to. So I am of a generation that has seen Mike Tyson lose fights live that he's supposed to win. I have not grown up on just Mike Tyson YouTube highlights. I have seen when Mike Tyson in a fight that he's not supposed to be in looks like. I'm worried about this. I feel like Jake Paul. The only thing that's giving me any hope that they may let Mike Tyson go in there and kill Jake Paul is that they let him lose to Tommy Fury. And I'm like, if this was fixed, you're not going to let him lose to the reality TV star, and you're going to fix that and pay off Tommy Fury enough. I've heard numbers floated. Mike Tyson's getting upwards of $20 million. I just watched an interview with Roy Jones Jr., and he was like, when I fought Mike, I didn't think we were going to go in there and kill each other. And then a switch flips with him. And even when he's trying to hit you, like he's trying to murder you. So I feel like when Mike gets in there, he's not going to be able to turn it off. But I just can't. I just can't. I've already watched Jake Paul decimate one of my legends and beat Anderson Silva. I can't take this Mike Tyson shit. I have to tell myself that it's fake. So I'm going to just go with DoorDash instead of betting on this one. No. Someone says downplaying Mike Tyson is crazy. I'm not downplaying Mike Tyson. I'm old enough to realize how far we are removed from the greatness of Mike Tyson. I watched
one punch though.
I watched Mike Tyson at the age 20 years ago losing to Kevin McBride. And so much so that if you want to see one of the greatest Mike Tyson's interviews ever, it's not even Mike Tyson talking after the fight. It's McBride talking about Tyson giving up halfway through the fight. And instead of throwing punches, he was trying to break his arm in a guillotine during the fight. And he gets to the mic and it's this big Irish guy. And he goes, He's trying to break me arm. It's one of my favorite post-match boxing interviews ever. I'm not downplaying the greatness of Mike Tyson. I'm downplaying the greatness of old age. Like, I don't think someone in their 50s should be able to beat up Jake Paul and the legitimacy of this fight. I don't know how real of a fight this is. I don't know if they're trying to protect Mike from getting hurt. I don't know if they're trying to protect Jake from getting hurt. But there's always something fishy going on with those Paul brothers. And it feels like betting on the Royal Rumble. Like, I mean, unless you got an in with Vince, you're playing the lottery at this point.
Well, Jake Paul, as far as I know, is undefeated against black people. As we know, we've seen him knock out Nate Robinson. I think this is scripted. I think Mike goes down in the 5th with an injury. Money is on Jake Paul. Money line. I'm taking the favorite. Jake Golden Boy, Iron Hands Paul is going to take this fight, and there will be a rematch as Mike leaves and says, I didn't give it my best. I need more of your money to really knock out Jake Paul. So I'm rolling with Jake Paul in the money line. He continues to be undefeated, and his picture will go in the barbershop again next to the Nate Robinson one.
Someone asked, where's Evander Holyfield when you need him? Please Google Evander Holyfield's last fight, because he recently came out of retirement and almost died in the ring. So fingers crossed everyone comes out of this one alive.
All right, well, I'm sure we could talk about this for a whole nother hour, but we got to get up out of here. We appreciate Pat coming through. Ron, go ahead and get us out of here, man.
Yeah, we appreciate everybody tuning in. There are 300 people watching. We have been spotty, inconsistent with our start times, and you guys have been absolutely killing it in supporting us. Our numbers are up. So shout out to you guys. We really appreciate the support. And a big thank you to Pat. A big thank you to Terry, all of our guests this week. Of course, the chat, our members, all of you guys are awesome. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, we have the college football pregame show tomorrow on Menace to Sports, so be sure to check out me and Chris Drew over there. And yeah, fellas, let the people know where they can find you before we get out of here.
Pat.
You can follow me on Twitter at Pat_KHILL8. Same thing on Instagram, Pat_CAHILL8. Follow for good sports content. And if you're in Columbus, we got live shows for Menace to Sports at Yogi's on Hard Road. Not today, but the next 2 Fridays against Indiana and Michigan. So pull up and have a good time.
There you go. If you want to find me, I am City Boy Quentin on Twitter. Find us on Instagram and Minor League Films here on YouTube if you're movies and you're into that sort of thing. Appreciate people joining us. The numbers are up. So when you leave y'all missing us a little bit, you definitely come back strong. So we greatly appreciate that. Shout out to Pat for delivering another masterful performance in here. Make sure to like that video if you're on Twitter. Like and retweet that in your community. Do the same thing. If you're not in the community, let us know. We'll get you in there. Ron, where people find you at?
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at 2Ts. It's 2_TES. If you want to find me on Blue Sky, you can find me at Ron James on there. Be sure to check out our Ohio State starter pack, our Ohio State feed. We're getting things going over there. We just finished up season 1 of our college football dynasty on Xbox in our Discord. If you play NCAA Football 25, be sure to check out our Discord. We do have a few openings going into season 2. If you're interested in taking over a team in our dynasty, be sure to join the Discord. I believe the link is actually active in the description today, so check that out if you want to join the Discord. Of course, you can find us here weekdays, Monday through Friday for the Buckeye Roast, me and Q. Wednesdays, you can catch me in the Bleacher Report app with Chris Drew for our weekly previews. Saturdays on the Menace to Sports platform for the Best Damn Pregame show, and joining Juck for the Juck on Bucks postgame after the show, and then, of course, the flagship Buckeye BS here on Sundays. With me, Mike, and Cam. We appreciate everybody tuning in. And, of course, you guys know how this ends. It's always go Bucks. And, of course, OH.
Ayo.
Yeah.